Walk into any garden center this weekend and look at the price tags. A single 4-inch pot of a trendy houseplant, one small cutting that someone rooted a few weeks ago, will cost you $12, $15, sometimes $20. And here's the part that should make you a little angry once you understand it. That plant they're charging you $15 for was very likely a free cutting snipped off a mother plant, dropped into water or soil, and left completely alone for a couple of weeks until it grew roots. No special equipment, no rare skill, no expensive inputs. They took something that costs nothing and sold it to you at a markup of infinity because the original cost was zero. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to do the same thing yourself, at home, for free, and with the right plants. Have visible roots in about a week. Not a month, not a vague eventually. Roots you can actually see forming within 7 days if you set it up correctly. And by the end of this, you'll never look at those nursery price tags the same way again, because you'll know the secret they're counting on you not knowing. Let me start with the single most important thing, because this is where almost everyone goes wrong and ends up frustrated, convinced they have a black thumb. The speed of rooting has almost nothing to do with luck and almost everything to do with 2 decisions you make before you even take the cutting. The first decision is which plant you're propagating. The second is where exactly you make your cut. Get those 2 right, and the plant does the rest of the work for you. Get them wrong, and you can do everything else perfectly, and still end up with a slimy, rotting stem in a jar of cloudy water. So let's talk about plant choice first, because this is the difference between roots in a week and roots in 3 months. Not all plants root at the same speed, and if your goal is fast, visible results, especially if this is your first time and you want the confidence boost of actually seeing it work, you need to start with what propagators call soft stem cuttings. These are plants with soft, green, flexible stems rather than hard, woody ones. The absolute fastest of them all is coleus. If you have a coleus plant, or can get a cutting from a friend who does, you can watch roots appear in as little as 3 to 5 days. It roots so fast, it almost feels like cheating. Right behind it is pothos, that ubiquitous trailing vine you see in every office and waiting room. Pothos cuttings placed in water typically show roots within 5 to 7 days, especially in a warm room with bright, indirect light. Spider plants are almost foolproof, producing little baby plantlets that often already have tiny root nubs on them before you've even cut them off, meaning they root within a week easily. Then you've got the herbs, basil and mint, which root in water in about a week from a fresh green cutting. And tradescantia, that purple wandering plant, roots so aggressively it's almost impossible to fail with. Notice what all of these have in common: soft, green, actively growing stems. This is the category you want to start with. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you have woody cuttings, things like mature rose canes, fruit tree branches, thick shrub stems, and many conifers. These can absolutely be propagated, but they root slowly, unreliably, and often need specialized humidity control, rooting hormone, and weeks or months of patience. They are not where you start. If someone's first propagation attempt is a woody rose cutting stuck in a glass of water, and it rots, they conclude propagation doesn't work. It works. They just picked the hardest possible plant to learn on. So promise yourself this: start with coleus, pothos, spider plant, mint, basil, or tradescantia, and save the woody stuff for after you've built some confidence. Now, the second critical decision, and this is the one that even experienced gardeners sometimes get sloppy about: where you cut. On every one of these plants, there are specific points along the stem called nodes. A node is the little joint where a leaf or a branch emerges from the main stem. Sometimes you'll see it as a slightly raised ring or bump. On some plants, you'll even see tiny aerial root nubs already poking out near the node. That node is the entire reason your cutting will root, because nodes contain the meristematic tissue, the concentrated zone of undifferentiated cells that can transform into roots. The stem between nodes, the smooth section, generally will not produce roots. So if you cut in the wrong spot and end up with a piece of stem that has no node at the bottom, you can do everything else flawlessly, and it will simply never root. Here's exactly how to make the cut. Choose a healthy stem from the actively growing tip of the plant, ideally something with 2 to 4 nodes on it, roughly 3 to 6 inches long. Using clean, sharp scissors or a knife, and I mean clean, wipe the blade with a little rubbing alcohol first, because a dirty blade introduces the bacteria that causes rot. Make your cut about 3 to 5 millimeters below a node at a slight angle. That angled cut increases the surface area for root formation and prevents the cut end from sitting flat against the bottom of your container. Then strip off all the lower leaves, any leaf that would end up sitting below the water line or buried in soil, because submerged or buried foliage rots almost immediately and fouls the whole environment. Keep the top 2 or so leaves for photosynthesis, but if those leaves are large, you can even cut them in half to reduce how much water. The leafless, rootless cutting is losing while it works on growing roots. That's the technique. Clean cut, just below a node, lower leaves stripped, taken from soft, actively growing growth. Do that on the right plant, and you're already 90% of the way to success before the cutting even touches water or soil. Now let's talk about the actual rooting, and I want to give you both paths, water and soil, because each has its place, and you should understand the trade-off. Water propagation is the path I recommend for your very first attempt, and specifically because of the psychology of it, not just the biology. When you put a cutting in a clear glass jar of water, you can see everything that's happening. You watch the roots emerge. You get daily proof that it's working. For a beginner, that visible feedback is enormously motivating, and it teaches you what healthy rooting actually looks like. Take your prepared cutting, drop it into a clear jar with a few inches of room temperature water, making sure at least one node is submerged and all the leaves are above the water line, and set it somewhere with bright but indirect light. Not a scorching south-facing windowsill that'll cook it, just a bright spot. Then the single most important maintenance task, change the water every 2 to 3 days. This is not optional, and it's where a lot of water propagations quietly fail. Standing water depletes of oxygen and becomes a breeding ground for the bacteria that turn your cutting to mush. Fresh water every couple of days keeps oxygen levels up and keeps the environment clean. Within days, on a fast rooter like coleus or pothos, you'll see the first white root initials pushing out near that submerged node. Once those roots reach roughly 1 to 2 inches long, the cutting is ready to move into soil. Now, soil propagation. This is the path experienced growers often prefer, and the reason is that roots formed in soil are structurally stronger from day one. They develop the fine root hairs and the branching structure that water roots lack, which means when you're done, you have a plant that's already adapted to living in soil with no shock transition. The catch is that you can't see what's happening underground, so it tests your patience, and it demands one thing that water propagation doesn't: humidity management. Here's why. A cutting with no roots can't pull up water to replace what its leaves are losing to the air. In water, that's not a problem, because the stem is sitting in water. But in soil, if the air around the cutting is dry, the leaves lose moisture faster than the rootless stem can supply it, and the cutting wilts and dies before it ever gets the chance to root. The solution is beautifully simple and free. Cover it. After you insert your cutting into moist, well-draining potting mix, with the bottom node buried about an inch down, drape a clear plastic bag loosely over the whole pot, or use a cut-off plastic bottle as a little dome. This traps humidity around the leaves, creating a miniature greenhouse. Just make sure there's a little airflow so mold doesn't set in. And keep the soil moist, but never soggy, because waterlogged soil starves the developing roots of oxygen and invites rot. And now, the free accelerator that almost nobody uses: warmth from below. This is the closest thing to a professional secret in this whole video. Roots form fastest when the growing medium, the soil or water, is slightly warmer than the surrounding air. Commercial nurseries use heated propagation mats set to around 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, about 21 to 24 degrees Celsius, specifically because that warm root zone dramatically speeds up cell division and root formation. You don't need to buy a mat, you just need to be strategic about placement. Set your cuttings on top of the refrigerator, where the motor gives off gentle, consistent warmth. Or near, not on, a heat source. Or on a sunny windowsill, where the sill itself warms up during the day, as long as the cutting itself isn't getting blasted with direct, scorching sun. That gentle bottom warmth can meaningfully cut down your rooting time, and it costs you absolutely nothing. Let me put the whole thing together into the fastest possible protocol, the exact sequence for roots in about a week. Pick a coleus, pothos, or spider plant, one of the speed champions. Take your cutting in the early morning when the plant is fully hydrated and firm, which gives it the best possible start. Cut cleanly just below a node with a sterilized blade. Strip the lower leaves, so drop it into a clear jar of room temperature water with the node submerged. Place it somewhere warm and bright, but out of direct, harsh sun, ideally somewhere with gentle bottom warmth like the top of the fridge. Change the water every 2 to 3 days without fail. And then, this is the hard part for a lot of people: leave it alone. Don't pull it out every few hours to check the roots, because handling disturbs the delicate developing root initials. Just observe through the glass, and let the plant do what it has evolved over millions of years to do. There's a hack worth mentioning here that sounds almost too strange to be true, but it's backed by how these plants actually work. If you're rooting a slower cutting, and you happen to have a pothos plant, drop a pothos cutting into the same jar of water alongside it. Pothos releases natural auxins, the same class of rooting hormones that commercial products try to mimic, into the water, and those compounds can help speed the rooting of the other cutting sharing that water. It's a free, natural rooting boost sitting in millions of homes already, completely unused. If you use this trick, refresh that shared water a little less often, maybe once every 2 weeks instead of every few days, so you're not constantly flushing away the very auxins you're trying to accumulate. It's a small trade-off between water freshness and hormone concentration. And for slow rooters, it can be worth it. Now, I want to be honest with you about the failures too, because the internet is full of people promising perfect results and then leaving beginners confused when something goes wrong. There are 3 ways this typically fails, and all 3 are preventable. The first is rot, a slimy, mushy, discolored stem end, and cloudy, foul water. This is almost always caused by standing water that wasn't changed, submerged leaves left to decay, or a dirty cutting tool. Fix it by changing water regularly, stripping those lower leaves properly, and sterilizing your blade. The second failure is desiccation, where a soil cutting shrivels and crisps up. That's low humidity, the cutting drying out faster than it can sustain itself. And the fix is that plastic bag or dome to hold moisture around the leaves. The third is simply slow or no rooting, and that usually traces back to one of 3 things: a cutting with no node at the base, a cold environment that's stalling cell division, or trying to root a woody plant that was never going to cooperate quickly in the first place. Match the plant, find the node, keep it warm, and this third failure mostly disappears. Once your cutting has a healthy inch or 2 of roots, it's time to pot it up, and there's a right way to handle this transition too. If you root it in water, understand that you're now asking those water-adapted roots to become soil roots, so be gentle and expect a short adjustment period. Move it into a small pot of moist potting mix. Keep the soil consistently moist for the first couple of weeks while the root system adapts, and hold off on any fertilizer until the plant is clearly established and pushing new growth, which is usually several weeks out. Feeding a cutting too early does nothing helpful and can actually burn those tender new roots. Just moist soil, gentle light, and patience while it settles in. Now step back and think about what you've actually just learned to do, because this is bigger than one plant in one jar. You now have the ability to walk past that $15 price tag and understand exactly what you're looking at. A free cutting, rooted with zero cost, marked up to the moon. But more than that, you have a multiplication machine. One healthy pothos can give you a dozen cuttings. Each of those becomes a full plant. Each of those full plants can then give you a dozen more. This is how a single plant, over a season or two, becomes an entire windowsill, an entire room, an entire collection, or a shelf of plants to give away to friends and family. Or, honestly, if you wanted to, a small side income selling the exact same rooted cuttings the nursery charges $15 for. The plant does the work. You just have to know where to cut and how to set the conditions. That's the whole secret the garden center is counting on you never learning. It was never about a green thumb or an expensive greenhouse or some rare talent. It's about picking the right stem, cutting just below a node, keeping it clean, warm, and humid, and then getting out of the plant's way. Do that, and you'll have roots within a week, plants within a month, and a completely different relationship with those price tags for the rest of your life. Next week, we're taking this one step further, because rooting a cutting gives you a copy of a plant you already have. But what if you could grow an entire, continuous food supply from things most people throw directly into the trash, the scraps, the ends, the bases you've been composting or tossing without a second thought? I'll show you which kitchen scraps regrow into full plants, which ones are a myth that wastes your time, and how to build a windowsill that quietly regrows your groceries. If turning one plant into a dozen felt good, wait until you see what it feels like to stop throwing food away and watch it grow back instead.